Hello my baninas, how are you doing? If you're new here, hi to you too. I'm Marina and welcome to my girl blog where I have been documenting my journey learning art. Today, I bring you my long-feared enemy, the skull. For a long time now, I have wanted to learn about skull anatomy, and this initial interest was spiked by a random video of a man simply saying, if you learn about the skeleton, you will be visibly better than those who don't.
You got to get on your Zoom. Every morning you got to get on your Zoom at 10.
And this has since then become my Roman Empire. I think about it every time I draw anything body related. I'm always left wondering, well, maybe if I knew about the skeleton. And while I have learned about the very basics of bone anatomy since then, I have yet to even learn the basics of skull anatomy. I have been telling myself that skulls are just too difficult, and you know, when I tried last year, they came out looking really Halloweenish. Terrifyingly ugly is what I mean. So as a part of my new drawing plan that you can check out in my previous video where I stopped neglecting the aspects of art that scare me, the things that I don't want to do because I know that it will be hard, I know that I will be bad at first, and it will take actual practice and hard work to see improvement. But well, my vaninas, I did just that. And today, I will answer the good old question I have had for so long. Does learning skull anatomy actually make you draw better faces? I am now not only going to save you from all the boring context of I have been struggling to draw women for the whole past year, but I will also be saving myself from a longer video, which means less editing. So let's very briefly go over the past. A year ago, when I got into learning to draw, a drawing of a female face without or even with reference looked like this. And then by some force of black magic, I have managed to get here. Now that you have your context, let's get into the past 2 weeks. Before I realized that I needed to structure myself, I was actually going to practice the mannequin. But even in the midst of all of this, there she was, hidden amongst foes. Great foreshadowing. In this last week of March, as I completed a year of learning to draw, it really sank in that I haven't done as much as I want, despite being able to. And so I spent a lot of time thinking about what I want to do. You know, I went on a walk or two, I touched some grass, I connected with my inner self. Yeah, no, I just spent even more time online. I have not only been scrolling a lot of Pinterest looking at all types of art tutorials and art styles, I have also been watching just about every art video ever. I'm exaggerating, but I've watched a lot of tutorials, draw-alongs, and a lot of sketchbook tours. Through this passive studying, I drew a lot of faces here and there, and while I was a little bit all over the place at first, eventually I began finding my footing. I showed these in my last video, and they were done without reference, kind of just using tips that I had subconsciously, passively seen through all that I consumed, and I see some decent improvement compared to just like 3 weeks before. Drawing these had me quite motivated, and as April rolled around, I decided it was time. I stayed drawing on my sketchbook, and yet again, this is like a really awkward stage where it's a hit or miss. Like you either draw something decent or the worst drawing you've ever laid on paper. It is motivating, but it's also equally humbling. I decided to then give digital a chance, which is good because I can easily edit my mistakes, patch everything up, easily flip things. It's all fun and games. And then I end up taking ages to do a single face drawing because all these options of correction are available. It's a lot harder to be satisfied with what I draw, and in the amount of time it takes me to draw one head, I probably could have drawn like half to a whole page of them on my sketchbook. Regardless, that's why it's probably good to use both mediums. And it was exactly here, as I struggled with some more awkward angles, that the question came up again. You see, if I knew about the skull, this would be so much easier, right? And so we take to learning. I believe the only reason why I actually took to learning the skull is because of Tom Foxstraw's book having a highly detailed section of it. I actually can't recommend the book enough. You should get your slimy little hands on it. And just like expected, I really struggled in the beginning. The book really puts your knowledge of perspective, form, and construction to the test. As you can see, I drew a lot of the things that the book has to offer, and sometimes multiple versions of the same thing until I'm sure that I get it. Eventually, my last 2 skulls on here were not so bad compared to that first thing that I'm not even sure you can call a skull. Next, from here, I had my little pocket sketchbook, and spaced out through one whole day, here and there, I whipped it out to draw some more skulls. I used references for about 90% of these. I was hoping to train my observation skills, as well as look at the real thing and take some of my own conclusions about its form, now that I had a more well-rounded fundamental knowledge of its structure. It starts out really rough, but as it progresses, it definitely gets a little better and better, you know, and I was quite excited throughout the day seeing some of the progress. I guess because that's like always nice and stuff. Also, I use the pen, you know, gotta live with my mistakes, draw some clear lines, you know, no erasing it just because I think it's bad or it looks ugly. I am a chronic eraser and I'm trying to get better. Because I was drawing here and there, I didn't take any major notes about the revelations I was having as I went along, but one thing is that I started with obvious problems regarding the jaw and ended with obvious problems regarding the jaw, just at a different angle. This is still a work in progress and I will get there with more practice. But now, the real deal. The next day, Rena, user Chloes, recorded real life footage. This is never before seen content. Look at that, all that a girl needs: bangers, skull reference, and tiny little pocket sketchbook. And the pen too. A pen is also pretty useful for this. The skull reference is a 3D model from Sketchfab, and if you want to check it out, I'll link it down below. But as I said, the next day I gave myself some time to draw some more skulls, and this time as more of a warm-up, because I was going to draw faces next. Scary, okay? It's the moment of truth. And dude, I'm like making it seem like I know what I'm doing. Look at how smoothly I'm drawing. Kidding, I follow this talented and well-crafted start with the reality, which is that I can draw one angle well, and the rest is still very much in the works. I'm here showing you an angle that I attempted and miserably failed at. I tried a few times and I didn't exactly succeed in the end at all, but it's a tricky angle and I'm still learning. And now it is time for the faces. And this is like really funny. Let's say I hypothetically thought that I was recording when I drew the first two faces, but I actually wasn't. And surely this is something that only happened once and never again, because I learned from my lesson, and this is not foreshadowing. This is not a video filled with foreshadowing. Anyway, as you can see, there's already two faces, and I actually blame the fact that it was sunset time and I'm right by a window, so I was being kind of blinded. And it was also because of the blinding sun that I couldn't figure out the eye, and I almost tore up the paper because I erased it like 8 times. Guys, this is purposeful comedy. I meant to do all of these things for your entertainment. And clearly the sun also made it very hard to properly show the drawings at the end, therefore making all the previous statements totally proven as fact. And then, because I am such a pro at this video making stuff, it never happened again. Because I pressed record. I didn't. Cut me some slack. You know, this last drawing particularly upset me because I used no reference. I drew it so quickly and then I didn't record. It took me around 5 minutes or so, and I know this because around a song and a half played in the meantime. But surely I will now learn from my mistakes. Only the future will tell. The next day I tried drawing digitally, but my Wacom tablet is so old and it doesn't even charge anymore and it disconnects so much. It's such a hassle. It's a battle. So my experience was a bit hindered by that, and I think it also affected the results because I was getting really frustrated. Let's not linger too long on this. Here's one of them, the one that I actually drew properly because I wasn't highly frustrated yet. It led me to switch to my iPad. My iPad with my Apple Pencil that has a broken tip. Great, I'm great. Thank you for asking. I drew one head and it took me less than 20 minutes. I even made a TikTok about it. Cue the TikTok.
Well, that's a problem. But not my fault. I did everything I could, and you did too. Also, why are you still here?
The angle didn't turn out right, as you can see, but it's like a very non-experienced artist thing to do. You subconsciously or even consciously sometimes make it easier so you don't hurt your ego as much. It's just a matter of practicing more, and just like always, I'll get there. And now, are you ready? It is time to evaluate if learning skulls actually help me or not. Let's start with this face I drew. I have one example of a similar angle from December of 2024. I remember being quite proud of this, but I cannot sit here and trash my older self because I'm sure that like 6 months from now, I'll think about April Rena as just a fool. The latter is clearly better, and you can argue that I've had more practice since December, besides just skulls. But I would also kind of disagree because I've drawn more these past 3-4 weeks than I have since January, so who knows. But when I was sketching this more recent one, as well as with the other ones on the sketchbook, I found myself being a lot more confident on where I was positioning the features and lines. I was actively thinking about like the zygomatic bone, like your cheekbone, and how it wraps around the face to the ear area, and it did help me create a much smoother, with less hassle, transition from the eye socket to the mouth area. And I was able to sketch much faster than before, simply because I imagined some funky looking bones. Right now, since I am still learning more about the mandibula, I think I'm saying that right, I am still struggling with the jaw and the mouth area depending on the angle, but you know, I've already felt a little bit of improvement, so you know, I've been having problems with the jaw since forever, but I can definitely see how drawing more skulls and practicing the mandibula will keep helping me in the future. In a way, and I hope this makes sense, it feels way harder and more intimidating to draw a skull for me, so when it now comes to just drawing the face/head, which is like the fun, less serious part, it feels easier. Since I have begun tackling the real big scary thing, the fun lighthearted stuff feels less pressured now. As you can see, I have yet to draw more faces and further my case study more deeply. But since y'all are constantly begging me like, oh my god, Rena, please post more, Rena, you're so cool, like, we want more, I have to deliver. So I will keep working towards making smaller videos, and then I can keep you guys fed and happy. I believe that that's it for this video. If you've watched it all the way here and you are interested in art and perhaps joining an art community, consider joining my art server. It's new, it's fresh. Take your chance now to be an OG banina. You can share your art with others, you can ask for feedback or advice. Anyway, it's all there for you, so just join. Everyone is very welcoming, and maybe you'd like it there. Follow me on anything that you prefer more if you want to see more of me in between my uploads. I would recommend TikTok or Instagram. Twitter is kind of like dead. And spare me a like on this video if you've enjoyed it. You're already here. This is the end, so subscribe to see more, and I will be back soon.